Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. In this video, I like to discuss the signs of movement against Boris Johnson's leadership. And I said last year that I felt that Johnson would survive 2020 despite the massive damage that he was doing to the Conservative Party's reputation, but that Brexit would keep him in place. But once we'd left the customs union and single market, the Brexiteers would have no further use for him. And this now seemingly has begun. In fact, there's been a few little snippets coming out from Conservative MPs this week as well. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news in politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, one of these, early on in the week, I was seeing correspondents talking about some Tory MPs saying that they were prepared to give Boris Johnson one last chance with the vaccine rollout. They knew how damaging the pandemic response had been, but if the vaccine rollout went well, they reasoned, then the public would probably forgive their earlier dithering. Now, I have to say, the members of the public who have lost someone as a result of the pandemic handling, I'm not convinced would necessarily go, oh, it's all brilliant because the vaccine rollout went well. As far as I'm concerned, and as far as they're concerned, they will have lost already. You know, the government will have already cost them their loved ones. But, you know, in terms of enough of the public, who knows? But I have got a few thoughts on this, but there's two thoughts that scream out at me. One, a statement like this accepts that the pandemic response has been fatally damaging to the Conservative Party. The MPs that are saying this know that it has the power to bring them down in 2024. There's an awful lot still to happen before the next general election, but something like this can prey on the public's mind. And unless the Conservatives can somehow turn the situation around, you know, a last gasp Hail Mary pass required, please, then they're in trouble. And the second thought is, surely they must know this is not going to happen. Even if you try and follow the logic that if there's a strong finish, it almost seems like you've won, you know, he who laughs best and all the rest of it. Even if you believe that, Boris Johnson is not going to deliver a strong vaccine rollout. The vaccine rollout is already going badly. I know they're saying it's going well. It's going very badly. Elderly, vulnerable patients are being given appointments over 100 miles away. You know, on Wednesday morning, the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, was robustly defending the refusal to consider 24-hour vaccination centres. That's what he was saying. A few hours later, Boris Johnson promised that we would have 24-hour vaccination centres in Parliament the same day. You know, and you think to yourself, so he's now, well, he's made his Health Secretary look like a right tit, but at the same time, that also shows that there's no plan there. How is it that on the morning, close cabinet colleague is saying, no, we don't need the 24-hour vaccine centres. There's no demand for them. There's no point in having them. A few hours later, the Prime Minister says, of course we're going to have them. Of course we are. You know, it's this off-the-cuff thinking, this off-the-cuff change, this off-the-cuff U-turn. That was only one of two U-turns that day. Later on the same day, Boris Johnson told a select committee of MPs that he was putting in special measures to guard against, you know, because we've got the variant that developed in this country, but there's a variant in South Africa, a variant in Brazil. So to try and prevent it becoming widespread in this country, you know, putting in a few immigration controls there. And Boris Johnson said, I'm going to put some special measures in, you know, to try and protect us against this. Yvette Cooper, Labour MP, asked, so what are these special measures then, Prime Minister? He didn't know. He didn't know. And it's not just that he doesn't have a grasp of the details. He's not interested in details. These Tory MPs know him personally, so they know this about his character. We can sort of see the evidence of it, and we read about people close to him who say, yeah, he doesn't care about details, but they will know it themselves. We're now throwing vaccine doses away. You know, this is, and you think, why are we doing, what? Why are we doing this? Well, once they're out of storage, they've only got so much of a shelf life, and if people aren't turning up to their appointments because, you know, they're 100 miles away, then you go, oh, well, that can't be helped then. Actually, it can, because there's healthcare workers working in these places that haven't had their second dose yet. Why isn't it being given to them? It's an absolute scandal. It's a complete mess. It's a complete mess. There are people there that can use that vaccine It's going to waste. Why not use it rather than destroy it? But no, government policy to destroy it. Hopefully that's something they'll U-turn on really quickly, but it still means doses have been destroyed. The government told us that they have a plan to secure vaccine stocks after Brexit. The Daily Mail was yesterday on its front page rejoicing that we have 21 million doses in the country right now, apparently. Unfortunately, Matt Hancock at the same time was telling people that the reason the rollout's not going too well is because we have a bit of a supply issue. A bit of a supply issue, have we? No MP... You know, we were supposed to have had a plan for Brexit to get supplies in. Why have we got a supply issue all of a sudden? No MP can possibly believe that this government is going to have a strong finish to this pandemic. With that Hail Mary pass of a vaccine rollout, it's going to go just as badly as everything else. And for the same reason. Boris Johnson is in charge. But there are other pressures on Johnson's leadership as well. There are MPs who want Johnson to succeed. They're giving him this last chance, and they may give him another last chance as well, because ultimately they don't want the leadership challenge. And it's not necessarily that they like Boris Johnson. They just know how damaging it is for you to have to change your leader. But they'll have to come to the point where they realise that we have to, because it's too damaging. It's more damaging to have a very badly wrong leader than it is to just stick by one. And... But there were always those who didn't want him in the first place. They wanted him for one purpose, and that was to drag the UK out the EU and their customs union single market. It wasn't working with Theresa May. It wasn't going to work with others. They needed someone who would be able to deliver this. The parliamentary arithmetic before Boris Johnson became Prime Minister was stacked against it. And he did that. And he absolutely fitted the bill for that. But that was it. They knew he wasn't fit for anything further. And I always believed they would turn on him quite early on in 2021. And now it's happened. Cue arch-Brexiteer Steve Baker. He's issued a missive to his Conservative MP colleagues. I'll link it below. The gist of it is this. Ostensibly, it's about, we're not really happy about this, all these lockdowns, all these impediments to our civil liberties, all these freedoms. We're not liking it. It's like there's no end in sight, there's no plan. We demand an exit strategy. And he says in this missive, and I'm going to read it out, people are, it's in bold, although that's not necessarily Steve Baker putting it in bold, because this comes via correspondence. People are telling me they are losing faith in our Conservative Party leadership because they are not standing up for our values as a party. Below, again in bold, inevitably the Prime Minister's leadership will be on the table. We strongly do not want that after all we have been through as a country. And later on, it's imperative you equip the Chief Whip today with your opinion that debate will become about the PM's leadership if the government does not set out a clear plan for when our full freedoms will be restored, with a guarantee this strategy will not be used again next winter. Now, is he doing this because he's one of these libertarians that doesn't like wearing a face mask? He doesn't like these restrictions. He doesn't care that it saves lives. Maybe he is, but that's not why he's saying it. He's saying it because he knows it's impossible for Boris Johnson to do this. Boris Johnson cannot have an exit strategy. Keir Starmer and other opposition MPs have been calling for one of those since before last summer. It was never forthcoming. Two reasons. One, the government are incapable of developing a complex plan to take into account different scenarios. Two, if they did develop such an exit strategy and it was clearly communicated, it would cause rebellion in the Conservative ranks. The problem Johnson has always had with the pandemic, beyond just his own blinkered libertarian thinking, is that he knows that his support in Parliament are libertarians like himself. And libertarians, it sounds fine, we're all in favour of freedoms. No, they're not. They're always in favour of removing freedoms from ordinary people. It's their own freedoms they care about. They're okay with punishing poor people, but they won't wear a bit of cloth over their face. That's the situation. But on the other hand, so if Boris Johnson did what they wanted and we'd never had any restrictions, there are some Tory MPs behaving as if they'd been in charge, we would never have had a single restriction in place. Not one. No social distancing. None of this nonsense. If you want to wash your hands for 20 seconds, fine. I'm not gonna. The death toll would have been truly catastrophic. Absolutely. The NHS would have melted down long ago. The public would have been calling for the Prime Minister's head by now. So we had to proceed with restrictions, but a bit at a time. We'll put this measure in, but it's only going to be for a little bit. Remember in the first days? It's only going to be for a few weeks. and then a few weeks more. And he keeps doing it bit by bit. He won't tell them the full plan. He don't tell them what needs doing because it would face rebellion. You know, he couldn't, and he can't act too early either. He can't, see, ironically, he wouldn't need to put the restrictions as tightly in place for as long if he acted earlier, but he can't do that because by acting earlier, you're acting before it's a massive crisis and people go, well, there ain't a problem. What are you on about? The hospitals are coping. What's the problem with you? So he has to wait until the hospitals aren't coping. Then he has to act too late. And then, but bloody hell, the restrictions, they're going on too long. Yeah, because of you, you idiot. You know, this letter by Baker isn't a call to get Johnson back on the path to their support. It's asking the impossible as an excuse to bury him. Because like he said, it's like, we don't want to get rid of you, mate. You know, we've all been through, but, you know, you're not doing too well. We're giving you this chance. We're giving you a chance. Fair enough. They're not giving him a chance. It's impossible what they're asking for. And another thing, of course, there's still going to be restrictions next winter. We hope we'll be in a better place next winter, but we have not eradicated the virus by next winter. That's still going to be here, and we're still going to need some restrictions. Maybe not as severe as now. We'll have to see just how badly they make a mess of it. But there's going to have to be some. So he knows he's asking the impossible as an excuse, as a prelude to getting rid of him. The question is how soon? I think before summer still. I'm still going to stick with that, but we will see. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.